As Team Fortress 2's art style, visual, and age all begin to deteriorate, with no new major updates in a while, the only thing we as TF2 players can look out for are the summer, winter, and Halloween updates. But even these have begun to degrade over time, with Flash and Gimmick slowly becoming more of a focal point than the actual game balance. Take new maps we got for summer. Aquarius, its gimmick? Mostly underwater, and you get a speed buff while underwater and can't drown. It's pretty amazing, right? But how does it actually play? Ah, fun. Well, what about Halloween? Same story, mainly just with zombie infection. But I covered one unique game mode last year with a unique gimmick, Crasher, my favorite Halloween map. But there is one map that's still a runner-up for me. It came out a year later and, in my opinion, is extremely fun. Let me introduce you to Perk's Gimmicks Done Right. So just like in my Crasher video, I want to dive into the main gimmick of this map, the perks. You get 3 options and can only choose one, which gets added to this box. Something to note is that the perks you don't select don't come back until the next round. Once both teams have picked their perks via group decision, the round starts and ends in one of 2 ways. Either everyone on the opposing team is killed, or the point is capped after 30 seconds. This is a best of 3, so the perks can stack up and make your team more powerful. I want to get into the perks and do a tier list from F to S tier, with F being the worst and S being the best. There are 15 perks to go through, so let's rank them all. Note that this is how each one functions on its own and can be put up against other perks on reliability, so we're not going to be doubling up. Starting us off in F tier is Reveal. On kill reveals 3 of the closest enemies for 5 seconds. This one confuses me a little, mainly because it's pretty damn useless outside of maybe detecting cloaked spies. This map is pretty small, and barring a few really dark corners, this ultimately doesn't serve a good purpose, as that slot could be used for literally any other perk. I don't understand what the creator was trying to do with this perk other than just put a shitty one in here. It's trash and I don't apologize for it. Second up is Haste, plus 10% movement speed. This one is very basic. It isn't very notable and is the only one I don't see picked that often, as there are much better options. This doesn't mean it's entirely useless, as some fights can go your way easier since most opponents don't usually calculate for the faster movement speeds. But stacked against other perks, it's pretty useless. Moving on. Those were our only 2 F tier perks. Now let's move on to D tier. These are perks I generally consider bad, but have more use cases, plus are actually useful in combat. Moving on to D tier, we have Grave Digging. On death, summon a friendly skeleton. On paper, this sounds amazing. Once you die, your opponent then has to deal with this annoying little shit. When in reality, the skeleton is pretty useless even with tons of bodies stacking up. Mainly it's just due to their sheer firepower. It may divert some firepower, which can get some people killed, but overall it's not very good at actually killing people. And I've seen this one get chosen very little, too situational. The reason it isn't an F tier is because it actually has some uses, even if small. Next up is Honorable Combat, double melee damage. A Demo Knight's Wet Dream perk. Unfortunately, you won't get much use out of it since most metas run heavy, pyro, medic, and engineer. Don't get me wrong, if the other team is incompetent or you 1v1 someone who isn't a pyro, you do stand a fighting chance. Just don't hit your entire bet on it. Also, one thing to note is that you also deal 50% more damage on a crit, one-shotting a max hailed heavy. Too situational, but it does actually work, and when it does, it is fun as hell. Next, we move on to C tier. These are perks that offer more in the wake of what they do, and are usually nice passive buffs that get outclassed easily, but are nice to have if available. Our first C tier perk is Precision, plus 50% projectile speed and reduced spread. This might be a slight bit controversial, and don't worry, it's only going to get more controversial from here, so bear with me. Precision is a middle of the road perk. Not good, not bad. It does its job and it does it to an extent. Some classes benefit from it more than others, like Huntsman Snipers are heavy. Some reap a little benefit, like Soldiers in Demo, but for the most part there are certainly better options. Next up is Patience. Now you might be a bit confused as to why a self-healing perk is this low. After all, it's active all the time. Well, it's honestly pretty shit. Patience grants up to 7 health per second. Heed the wording of that. up to. It passively goes up as you are not in combat, and for the most part you'll only be healing about 1 to 3 health per second, less than a dispenser, medic, or health pack. The only useful part about this is the rare occasion where you win a duel against somebody only because you were being healed during the fight. Overall, pretty weak for what it does. Our last C tier perk is Bloodlust. On kill grants 2 seconds of mini crits. And yes, I know, pairing this with a certain other perk makes this one S tier, but itself it's pretty weak. Most classes don't get much use out of this, like engineers, medics, and the like. But some do, like soldiers, heavies, and demos. 2 seconds isn't enough time though, and usually comes when you're at the end of your clip, meaning that you can only maybe get 1 or 2 shots off. I guess it's a good way to keep it balanced. Now we are moving on to our B tier. This tier is for our middle of the road perks, ones that are generally pretty good to have but have a couple things that weigh them down from being an A tier. Our first B tier is Quick Draw, plus 15% firing, reloading, and weapon switching speed. Fastest shot of the West! This is better than Precision. It affects everyone equally and it does its job pretty well. Switching quickly between weapons is way more useful than at first glance. On Heavy, you could switch to your sandwich quicker to heal your medic on fire. On Soldier, your airstrike could shoot more rockets with the reload speed increase. Everything is great about this, but there are some that outclass this in my opinion, so it goes as a high C. Hey, so you know the issue with Bloodlust being that it's too short and sometimes unreliable? Well, fear not, Haunting is here. With this being our last on-death perk, by the way. Haunting. On death, the killer is marked for death for 6 seconds. This one requires someone on your team to die, which happens often. This is a game changer though. A heavy guns down a scout is now punished with this, meaning that they will have to retreat from the fight or suffer being killed by an incoming player or two. This makes heavy X-Medic fights a lot more skewed if a player is killed in the crossfire. Also no, the buff doesn't account for assists, only players who kill you gets it, not their medic. This buff is more powerful than people think just because it requires a player on your team to die, which is pretty much its only downside, hence its B tier placement. Another B tier perk is Resistance, plus 10% damage resistance. This is more powerful than it seems, but I won't go into too much detail about how damage resistance works, cause I don't honestly know it. If you want a good breakdown video, I'll link Zesty Jesus' video in the description. Just know it is great, but not the best. The last B tier perk on our chopping block is Ammo Reserve, plus 50% reserve ammo, and metal regeneration. The best perk that has to do with how weapons work. It takes the best parts of Quick Draw and amplifies them. More ammo in your clip means less downtime when pushing. Metal regen helps engineers build more mini sentries that can turn the fight against the opposing team. The reason why it isn't an A tier is because there are just some that are better than it. Next up are our A tier perks. God, that's so annoying to say. Perks that are great and have very few flaws with extremely good upsides. These ones are must-haves most of the time and are all around the best of the best. The first one up is Stronghold. When the capture point unlocks, plus 1 capture point and plus 20% damage resistance. I'm not concerned with the capture point buff, since most fights end with the other team being demolished. I do want to point out that this is a better version of resistance, since it gives 20% rather than 10%. And sure, it isn't always active since you have to wait for the capture point to activate. It does serve its purpose well. This will probably be the most controversial ranking, probably could argue a case for B tier, but for now, A. So now we are down to our last 3 perks. In third place, it's Extra Provisions, plus 40% extra healing gain from all healing sources. Now I don't know if this is bugged or just misleading, but this only affects medics' healing beams, not dispensers, mad milks, or other sources that heal. Or I'm just really bad at research, who knows, probably. I tried. This buff is massive and there are no downsides, outclassed all by 2 other perks, so let's find out which 2 those are. In second place, we ironically have Second Chance. Once per round, players can be revived by medic. This perk is either the most overpowered perk or the most useless. Since each team knows what the other one picked, when people see this, they will often target your medic and take him down before he can revive anyone. So it is either the most situational perk in the game. But honestly, the risk-reward factor to this is amazing. Get 2 or 3 medics on a stacked team and you'll be set. Actually, this used to be first place until I did some research and testing. So let's roll into what our first place is. Our one and only S tier perk. In first place, it's conversion. Mini crits become full critical hits. This perk is overpowered. Unlike extra provisions, this works on every mini crit source you can think of. Girardi? Check. Buff banner? Check. Fanivore? Check. This perk is fantastic and stacks with Bloodlust, turning your 2 seconds of mini crits into 2 seconds of full crits. While it isn't always active, it buffs 6 out of the 9 classes immediately and is powerful as shit. Get one person on your team to do Girardi or Buff Banner and you could wipe the entire team in an instant. Don't believe me? Try it out in a game. That shit will smash through anything. Let's throw some examples. Enemy team has extra provisions, resistance, and stronghold. Your team has conversion and some other bullshit nobody cares about. Buff banner activates, shit kills in 3 rockets. Even through all these buffs, the crits still decimate. Absolute cinema at play here. This is why those passive buffs aren't automatically the best, because sometimes all you need is a little crits to go a long way. So that's the tier list. If you disagree, feel free to put it in the comments and boost this video in the algorithm. I'll be sure to respond in tandem if it's good enough to care about. With this conclusion out of the way, thanks for watching and have a Merry Halloween.